News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Karen Moscow.
Karen, we begin with deadlock in D.C. Congress has blown past a midnight funding deadline, triggering the first government shutdown in nearly 7 years. Democrats and Republicans remain in a spending standoff. The Democrats want to attach health care and other policy changes to a stopgap spending bill. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is blaming the majority.
Republicans once again rejected Democrats' proposals to avoid a shutdown, fix health care premiums, and spare Americans the calamity of skyrocketing through the roof health care costs.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says unless Congress acts, Obamacare tax credits will expire at the end of the year and premiums will spike. Majority Leader John Thune says Democrats are to blame.
Democrats may have chosen to shut down the government tonight, but we can reopen it tomorrow. All it takes is a handful of Democrats to join Republicans to pass the clean, nonpartisan funding bill that's in front of us.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune and his fellow Republicans need at least 8 Democrats to support the funding bill. Only 3 voted with all but 1 Republican in favor of it last night.
Well, Nathan, the government shutdown means key services for Americans and pay for federal workers are suspended. President Trump is tying the health care funding standoff to immigration.
They wanted to be able to take care of people that have come into our country illegally, and no system can handle that. And so we're totally opposed on that. But we just can't do it. I'd love to do everybody. I'd love to do the whole world. But our country can't handle people that come into our country illegally.
President Trump spoke to reporters from the White House lawn. He's suggesting his administration will use this shutdown to conduct mass layoffs of federal workers beyond temporary furloughs. The Congressional Budget Office estimates about 750,000 federal employees will be sidelined each day the government is shut down.
And Karen, Bloomberg Economics estimates the shutdown could send the unemployment rate from 4.3 to 4.7%. That's if it lasts for 3 weeks and those furloughed workers start to count as temporarily unemployed. Historically, much of the economic impact from shutdowns has been recouped after they end. But during the last one, the Congressional Budget Office estimated the U.S. economy failed to recover $3 billion of the $11 billion it lost in overall output.
Well, Nathan, U.S. stock index futures are lower with the start of the first government shutdown in nearly 7 years. And we want to get the latest with Bloomberg's John Tucker. John, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Karen. Yeah, traders say if the shutdown stretches from days to weeks, it could intensify concern over an economic slowdown and drive Treasury yields and stocks lower. The shutdown also means key economic reports, they're on hold. That includes Friday's critical jobs report. And traders fear the loss of visibility will leave markets in the dark on the outlook for monetary policy. Danielle Poli at Oak Tree Capital Management sees it this way.
In the past, shutdowns have had a limited effect, on bonds and stocks, but with valuations so stretched in equities today, this time potentially could be different.
Well, non-essential federal workers will be furloughed. The Trump administration has said they're looking to make some of those cuts permanent. That could create a shock, just as Fed policymakers are focusing on the labor market. In New York, I'm John Tucker, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, John, thank you. And speaking of the labor market, the White House has withdrawn the nomination of E.J. Antoni to lead the Bureau of Labor Statistics. His nomination was seen as an attempt by President Trump to gain control of a federal agency that is responsible for key economic data like the jobs report and the consumer price index. Bloomberg's Miles Miller has more on the surprise reversal.
E.J. Antoni was just too partisan. From the Heritage Foundation, which has a lot of connections to the current Trump White House, and surely that he was just too partisan. And in addition to that they did not feel he would have smooth sailing on Capitol Hill.
Bloomberg's Miles Miller says Antoni's BLS nomination had already shown signs of faltering. Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski had expressed extreme reservations about it earlier this month. Her vote could have blocked his nomination from advancing through the Senate committee. Congress had not yet set a date for a confirmation hearing.
Well, Nathan, as traders remain in the dark with economic data, which economic data should the shutdown carry on? They may rely more heavily on Fed speak. We heard from Chicago Fed President Austin Goolsbee yesterday discussing the impact of tariffs on interest rates.
I thought rates are going to come down in that environment, and I was saying I thought they had a fair bit of ways to go. When they announced the tariffs at those kind of rates, especially in manufacturing, also in agriculture, it was a hair on fire kind of moment where a lot of folks in various manufacturing industries were saying, we can't, if these are the rates, we're not going to survive. We're going to see a real closing out.
And Austin Goolsbee spoke at an agricultural conference hosted by the Chicago Fed. He also expressed concern about some government officials supporting the idea of giving the Trump administration the power to influence interest rates. And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Karen Moscow.
I'm Nathan Hager, and this is Bloomberg.